someone passed away that I have admired for a long time had a way of kind of realigning the way I think about things. And this is where I want to go with this. How do you present your faith? Now, for me, lately, as of late, I most recently witnessed to a girl at work, and everybody's heard the gospel. So what it really comes down to, I should say most people have heard it, what it really comes down to is presenting your faith in a way that seems inviting and forgiving rather than turn or burn. The only group of people that Jesus was ever harsh with were the Pharisees. And he was very harsh with them, and I'll openly admit that was in fact the case. But with the people that he engaged every day who were hurt and broken and lost, he was the kindest word. You know, it was the religious elitists of his time that caught the full-on, you know, double barrel shotgun of his words. It wasn't the people that were lost. And from what I see in this country, what we've consistently done is we've given people both barrels. You know, like they already understand what's going on, and they don't. And to me, there's all kinds of cultures out there that haven't heard the Word of God, and when it has been presented to them, it's been presented falsely. In other words, they're not hearing compassion, they're not hearing forgiveness, they're hearing condemnation and rebuke. Well, that's fine for, you know, somebody that's been to Bible school and is, you know, doing nothing but piling on the rules and regulations. Jesus did that all the time. But when you're dealing with somebody like, say, a Ronnie James Dio, who may have heard the gospel, but in all likelihood, it was during the 80s and it was through the news media when some woman or man was shaking his fist saying, this is Satan's music. How do you, I mean, if he's burning in hell right now, I'd like to ask that man, how does that make you feel? Instead of presenting the gospel in an effective way or allowing somebody else that could do it that might actually witness and minister to somebody, somebody could burn in hell for all eternity because you gave them a double-barrel shotgun. I mean, that should bother you. That should bother any one of us. We see it every day in the news. We hear about it all the time. People hearing the gospel in a way that's negative and reacting to it. Well, of course they're reactionary. Of course, liberalism runs loose. It is a knee-jerk reaction to super conservatism and oppressive, forced, legalized morality. It is a knee-jerk reaction. People almost on the defensive. If you're deciding, as you're following Walking Dead Ministries, and you're following the various things that my website and whatnot and my radio show does, if one of the things you're deciding for yourself today is, I want to change something about the way my faith is, probably the first thing that I would suggest, if you're declaring you're no longer a Christian but you're a Christ follower, the first thing I would suggest is no longer allowing yourself to be bullied, not by the world, but by ultra-conservative Christianity. You know, people who want to corner people and say, look what's going to happen to you if you don't do what we say. Instead of that, a more forgiving message. When back to my story, when I witnessed to this girl, I knew that she had already heard about Jesus. In fact, it turned out she was a lapsed Catholic. There's a lot of those walking around, believe it or not. And I said, one of the things I've started to do that I really like, that I think is an effective point in ministry, is I apologize. And I got this idea from Blue Like Jazz, the book by Donald Miller. I apologize for the oppressive nature in which Christianity has delivered its message. I apologize for, he apologizes for things like the Crusades and, all that stuff. But I apologize in general, because nobody should be oppressive. When you suggest a faith to somebody, when you share your faith, it should be, well, this is what I believe. I mean, as I was talking to her, I said, well, I can't, I admitted to her, I can't force you to become a believer. And I really don't want to, because it has to be a heart decision, and it's really something that's between you and God. What I like to tell people is that I'm an introductory service. I want you to meet my God. And then if you decide you want to know more about Him, you ask me questions, maybe you follow me to church one day, or join me in a cell group or in prayer or something of that nature, and then you start praying and reading the Bible on your own, and then anything that is in your life that I may or may not have an issue with, morality-wise or anything else, that is strictly between you and God, because I'm not God. And past an introductory service, it's really not my job to tell you where you're sinning and where you're not, unless you ask me, unless you're seeking my advice on that said issue. But like launching from the starting gate and saying, you're gay and that's wrong, that's not my problem. I see people, protesting gay marriage, and it's not my issue. We came here into this country in the 1600s so we could do what we wanted without the oppression of England. Specifically, we wanted to be able to follow whatever God we chose. Isn't it ironic that ever since we landed here, we've done nothing but oppress anybody that wasn't Christian? And I think we'd probably have a lot more people on our side and members of our cause if we had just taken the time to love people, to accept them where they're at, to really hear what they're... Some people just want to be heard. They just want to be listened to. They want somebody somewhere to give a damn. And there's so many of us that we're so busy trying to make our point. And you see it every day. You go to the store and you get into a political, argument with somebody that's either liberal or conservative, and they really want you to join forces with them, so they've got a hammer